March, 1942. If you close your eyes and listen to the world in the spring of 42, you don't hear the wind. You hear machinery. You hear the grinding gears of a planet tearing itself apart. In Mississippi, the war is a low, constant hum. It's the sound of the draft board typing up notices. It's the sound of rationing coupons being torn from books, sugar, rubber, gasoline. People are looking up. They are watching the skies, but they aren't looking for clouds. They are looking for Heingels. They are looking for zeros. There's a psychological term for this. It's called inattentional blindness. When you are so focused on the wolf at the front door, you don't notice the tiger slipping in through the back. In the small hamlet of Otoucalofa, just outside Water Valley, the Barber family is waking up. It's a Monday. The laundry needs to be washed. The wood needs to be chopped. The sky is a pale, bruised purple. They don't know it yet, but the clock has already started. 500 miles to the west, a mass of cold, dry air is dropping out of the Rockies like a stone. It is currently colliding with a plume of hot, moisture-rich air surging up from the Gulf of Mexico. And right now, that weapon is aimed directly at the Barber family's front porch. Welcome to the Ghost Train. To understand what happened in 1942, you have to understand the silence. Today, if a storm like this formed, your phone would scream at you. A polygon would turn red on a radar screen in Jackson. Sirens would wail in 3 counties. You would have time. In the Delta, the warning system is biological. It's the ache in an old man's knee. It's the way the mules in the pasture cluster together, facing the same direction. It's the smell. Survivors from the 1940s often talk about the smell of ozone, a sharp metallic tang, like sucking on a penny, or the smell of crushed pine needles. It is 2 p.m. Near the town of Berkeley, just west of Idavena, the sky begins to curdle. Clouds don't just drift in, they boil. Imagine a pot of water on a stove, rolling at a furious boil. Now, flip that pot upside down and suspend it over the earth. That is what the sky looks like over Idavena. A dark scar lowers from the base of the clouds. It isn't the classic slender needle you see in movies. This is 1942. This is a monster from a different era. It is wide, it is jagged, and it is black. It touches the earth. At first, it moves slowly, almost teasingly. It chews through a grove of cypress trees. It snaps them, not at the base, but 10 feet up. It splinters them into toothpicks. Then, it accelerates. This is the critical variable. Most tornadoes move at 30, maybe 40 miles per hour. You can drive away from them. It is moving faster than a car on a muddy 1940s road. It is moving faster than a frantic phone call can travel through a switchboard. It is a predator that can outrun its prey. And it is hungry. Let's move down the line. Let's go to where the people are. It is 3:30 p.m. In the town of Greenwood, the air raid sirens are silent. The dim-out regulations are in effect. Lights low. Curtains drawn to hide from enemy bombers that will never come. The telephone lines in 1942 are physical things. Copper wires strung on wooden poles. They're the nervous system of the Delta. When the storm hits Berkeley, a witness runs to a phone. He cranks the handle. He screams that something like a black train leaving the tracks, is heading east. The operator in Greenwood connects the line. She calls the next town over. Avalon, storm coming. Bad one. Get to the cellar. But then, the storm does something intelligent. It doesn't just knock down the houses. It knocks down the poles. It severs the nervous system. When the operator in Avalon tries to call the next town, tries to call the switchboard that serves the rural community of Otoucalofa, there is no ring. There is no static. There is just nothing. The warning stops at Avalon. East of there, in the hills of Yalobusha County, the Barber family is preparing for supper. They're living in a bubble of time that no longer exists. They're ghosts, walking through a house that has already been destroyed. They just haven't caught up to the timeline yet. Let's focus on the Barbers. A multi-generational home. Grandparents, parents, children. The house is sturdy. Built of good timber, it has stood through storms before. The great gale of '36, the floods. They trust the house. Trust, in a tornado, is a fatal flaw. The hush. You heard of the calm before the storm. But in a supercell of this magnitude, the calm is weaponized. It's a pressure drop so severe that your ears pop. Inside the Barber house, the air feels thin. A child asks, "Why is the sky green?" Not dark. Green. A sickly, bruised avocado green. It's the light refracting through millions of gallons of hail suspended in the updraft. The horizon is gone. Usually you can see the tree line. You can see the sunset. Now, there is only a wall. A wall of rain. And inside the rain, something is flashing. Blue. White. Blue. It's not lightning. It's power. Transformers, exploding as the beast eats the power grid, mile by mile. He steps back inside. He locks the door. As if a deadbolt can stop a freight train. He says, "Sounds like a train. Must be a troop train moving through." But there are no tracks in Otoucalofa. We need to talk about the sound. If you have never heard an F4 tornado, you cannot imagine it. Hollywood gives you a whoosh, a windy whistle. That is a lie. An F4 tornado is not wind. It is a grinder. It is a low-frequency rumble. So deep, you feel it in your teeth before you hear it with your ears. At 4:15 p.m., the storm crosses into Yalobusha County. It has grown. It is now a half-mile wide. It is no longer a funnel. It is a wedge. A solid block of turbulence that connects the ground to the sky. It hits the McClarty farm first, but the roar doesn't pass. It gets louder, and louder, and louder, and louder. It becomes a physical weight. He looks out the barn door. He sees his fence posts, 4x4 oak posts, being pulled out of the ground, not snapped, pulled, like handles out of a birthday cake. He runs for the ditch. That is the only reason we have his story. He didn't go into the house. He went into the mud. And then the world ends. He describes the sensation not as wind, but as suction. He feels his boots trying to leave his feet. He feels the air being ripped out of his lungs. He can't breathe. Because the air pressure is dropping so fast, the oxygen is being vacuumed out of the atmosphere. He closes his eyes. He prays. And he listens to his farm disintegrate. And then, just as quickly as it started, silence. Not the silence of peace. The silence of a vacuum. He lifts his head. The barn is gone. The house is gone. The trees are gone. And it is snowing. It is snowing. It is snowing. Insulation. Pink and yellow fluff from the walls of his neighbors' homes, drifting down from the sky like a grotesque winter, toward Outoucalofa, toward the schoolhouse, toward the Barber family. The beast is still hungry, and is heading right for them. This is the moment. The McClarty farm was the warning. Otoucalofa is the target. In the Barber house, they can hear it now. The train is so loud they have to shout to be heard in the living room. Get the mattress. This is the survival protocol of 1922. Inner room. Mattress. Prayer. They don't know that an F4 tornado doesn't care about interior walls. They don't know that the uplift force of a storm this violent is enough to lift the entire house, floorboards, foundation, and all, and throw it 300 yards. They are huddled together. The father. The mother. The children. They are holding hands. The lights flicker. Darkness. Then, the windows blow out. The pressure difference sucks the windows in. Shards of glass become bullets. The wind enters the house. It's not just air. It's mud. It's branches. It's pieces of the McClarty farm from 3 miles away. The roof begins to lift. You can hear the nails groaning. The timber screaming. It's the look of realization. This isn't a train. And then, the floor drops out. We are about to enter the impact zone. We are about to walk through the wreckage of Otoucalofa, where 16 people died in a space the size of a football field. We are going to analyze the forensic timeline of this disaster, the decisions made in split seconds, the luck, the tragedy. But before we dig the survivors out of the mud, we need to understand something. There is a second monster forming in the dark, and it is heading for the one place where the survivors are trying to go, the hospital. 4:18 p.m. There is a specific sound that wood makes when it is pushed beyond its breaking point. It isn't a snap, it's a scream. Inside the fibers of the southern yellow pine that holds up the Barber family home, the resin is crystallizing under immense pressure. The grains are separating. But before the roof lifts, before the walls dissolve, we need to understand the physics of the monster standing on the front porch. This is not a windstorm. The human brain classifies wind as air moving past you. The Otoucalofa tornado, the ghost train, is a pressure deficit engine. Inside the funnel, the atmospheric pressure is nearly 100 millibars lower than the air inside the Barber living room. And it wants it now. When the outer wall of the storm hits the house, the air inside the house desperately tries to equalize with the low pressure outside. It pushes outward. It pushes against the windows, against the doors, against the ceiling. The house exhales violently. In the Barber living room, the father, the mother, the grandparents, and the children are huddled on the floor. The air in the room suddenly turns cold, instantly freezing. Then the dust rises. Not from the outside, from the floorboards. The pressure change is sucking decades of dust out of the cracks in the wood. A gray fog materializes in the room, seemingly out of thin air. They are choking on the past. And then, the train arrives. That is debris. That is fence posts, sheet metal, gravel, and pieces of the McClarty farm hitting the exterior walls at 200 miles per hour. It is a firing squad. The siding of the house is shredded instantly. The raw wood is exposed. Then the windows go. When the windows fail, the envelope of the house is breached. The wind rushes in. The wind moving over the roof is traveling faster than the wind inside. Lift is generated. Immense, impossible lift. The Barber family hears a sound that defies logic. They hear the nails, thousands of iron nails singing in unison as they are pulled from the rafters. The roof doesn't fly off. It levitates. It hovers for a fraction of a second, and then it disintegrates. The protection is gone. The father tightens his grip on his daughter's hand. He squeezes so hard his knuckles turn white. He is trying to anchor her to the earth. But the earth itself is moving. The floorboards begin to ripple, like water. And then, the Barber family, and the house, and the history are gone. They are not on the floor anymore. They are in the spin. Absolute, unadulterated chaos. Survivors of F4 tornadoes often speak of the slow motion effect. The adrenaline dumps so heavily into the bloodstream that the brain overclocks. It processes visual information faster than real time. Mr. Barber recalls being airborne. He is inside the dark ink of the cloud. It is thick. It tastes like mud and gasoline. He sees objects floating past him. A chair, a mattress, a sewing machine. They are suspended in the violence, rotating slowly like satellites in orbit. He feels things hitting him. Hard things, soft things. He doesn't know it yet, but these are the projectiles that will leave scars for decades. Splinters the size of pencils driven into muscle, gravel embedded under the skin like buckshot. But the most terrifying thing is the sound of the people. The roar of the tornado is so loud it drowns out the screams of the person next to you. You are screaming, but you cannot hear yourself. You are alone in a room full of noise. The tornado carries the family for what feels like miles. In reality, it is perhaps 200 yards. Then, the engine disengages. The updraft releases them. They land in the mud. In the fields. in the ravines. Mr. Barber lands in a field of cotton stubble. The impact knocks the wind out of him. He lies there, gasping, staring up into the black rain. He checks his limbs. Arms, legs. He is alive. He tries to stand, but the mud is slick. It's gumbo mud, that thick Mississippi clay that acts like glue. He wipes the mud from his eyes. He tries to shout. "Mary!" His voice is a croak. His throat is packed with dirt. The tornado forced mud down his esophagus. He coughs, spitting up black clots of earth. "Mary!" He looks around. The landscape is alien. 5 minutes ago, this was a farm. There were fences, barns, a house, a grove of pecan trees. Now it is a flat gray smear. The trees are not just fallen, they are debarked. The wind was so intense it stripped the bark from the trunks, leaving them white and skeletal, pointing accusatorially at the sky. He sees a shape in the mud nearby, a bundle of rags. He crawls toward it. It is his daughter. She is moving. He grabs her. He pulls her into his chest. He checks her. She is covered in mud, entirely black except for the whites of her eyes. Her clothes are gone. The wind has stripped the cotton dress right off her body. The buttons were ripped through the fabric. The shoes were sucked off her feet. This is a signature of the F4. It undresses its victims before it discards them. He wraps his own torn shirt around her. He holds her. And he listens. The roar is moving away. It is grinding to the east, toward Tula, toward the hills. But in its wake, it has left a new sound. The field is alive with the injured. A mile down the road lies the heart of Otoucalofa, the community center, the schoolhouse. In rural Mississippi, the school is more than a classroom. It is the anchor. It is where they vote. It is where they vote. It is where they hold the harvest dances. Tonight, it is a tomb. The storm took a direct path through the center of the hamlet. There were 16 people in this immediate vicinity. The destruction here is different. It is forensic. The Barber house was exploded. The schoolhouse was erased. The foundation blocks, massive stones cut by hand, have been swept clean. As the survivors from the outlying farms begin to stumble toward the town center, guided by the flashes of lightning, they are looking for landmarks. Where is the store? Where is the road? They can't find the road. The road is buried under 10 feet of twisted timber and sheet metal. They are walking on top of the ruins. A man named Carpenter is searching. He is carrying a lantern that miraculously survived. The kerosene flame flickers in the wind. The light swings back and forth, cutting through the darkness. It illuminates a scene from hell. A car, a 1939 Ford, has been wrapped around a tree stump, not crashed into it, wrapped. The steel frame is bent into a U shape. Mr. Carpenter shines the light inside. It is empty. He moves on. He reaches what used to be the school. He sees a desk, a simple wooden school desk. It is sitting upright in the mud, untouched. An open book is still on the surface. The pages are wet but not torn. Next to it is a pile of bricks that used to be the chimney, and under the bricks, he sees a hand. He drops the lantern. He digs. He tears at the bricks with his bare hands. He doesn't care that the rough edges are tearing his skin. He pulls the bricks away. It is a neighbor, a man he spoke to yesterday about the price of seed corn. The man is gone. The trauma is catastrophic. Mr. Carpenter sits back in the mud. He puts his head in his hands, and then he hears it. Not the wind. A human whistle. He stands up. He grabs the lantern. "Over here! I'm over here! I'm over here!" He follows the sound. It's coming from the ditch. He finds a group of 3 men. They are battered, bleeding, but they are alive, bleeding. They were thrown into the drainage ditch before the school collapsed on top of them. The timber formed a lean-to, a pocket of air that saved them. They are the first miracles of the night, but they are trapped. "Get a pry bar," one of them wheezes. "My leg. The beam is on my leg." Carpenter looks around. There are no tools. The tools are in the wind. The tools are in the next county. He has to use a fence post. This is the reality of the impact zone. There are no ambulances yet. There are no firefighters. There is just you, and your neighbor, and a broken fence post. You have to play God. You have to decide who to dig out first. Do you dig out the man with the broken leg, or the child who isn't crying? You choose the child. 5 p.m. The sun is setting. Or at least, the calendar says the sun is setting. In Yalobusha County, it has been night since 4 p.m. The storm system is moving east, dragging its cloak of darkness with it. But it leaves something behind. The rain. This isn't the cleansing rain that washes away the pain. This is black rain. The tornado pulverized tons of topsoil, it sucked up oil from tractors, it shredded asphalt from the highway. All of that particulate matter was lifted 40,000 feet into the air, mixed with the moisture, and is now falling back to earth. It coats everything in a slick, oily film. It makes the rescue nightmare. Survivors are trying to walk, but they keep falling. The mud is knee-deep in places, and it's cold. The temperature has plummeted 20 degrees in the last hour. The cold front that drove the storm is now settling in. The victims, stripped of their clothes, shivering in shock, are at risk of hypothermia. In the Barber field, they have gathered the survivors. They are huddled under a piece of tin roofing propped up against a fallen tree. They need to move. They know this. If they stay here, the shock will kill them. But where do you go? The landmarks are gone. Then, a sound cuts through the rain. A truck. It's coming from the main road. The driver is forcing the vehicle over the debris. He is driving over power lines. He is driving over the ruins of fences. It is a local man. He saw the funnel from the valley. He knew where it hit. He pulls up to the edge of the Barber property. The headlights cut through the gloom. To the survivors, those twin beams of yellow light look like angels. "Get in!" the driver screams. "Load 'em up! We gotta go!" "Where?" someone shouts. "Grenada! The hospital in Grenada! The hospital in Grenada! It's the only one with power. Grenada! 20 miles away, 20 miles on dirt roads that have been turned into soup." They begin to load the wounded. They stack them in the truck bed like cordwood. There is no room for comfort. Mr. Barber lifts his daughter. He places her gently in the corner of the truck bed, shielding her from the wind with his body. He looks back at his farm one last time. In the headlight beams, he sees the mound of debris that used to be his life. He climbs in. The truck lurches forward. They are moving. They are escaping. They think the worst is over. They think they have survived the monster. But they are driving south, toward Grenada. And they don't know. They simply cannot know that the atmosphere is reloading. The journey to Grenada is a descent into madness. The truck is overloaded. The suspension bottoms out with every bump. Every jolt sends a wave of agony through the passengers with broken bones. But no one complains. No one cries out. They are in the 1,000-yard stare phase of trauma. They are silent. They pass through other communities. Scobie. Rosebloom. Everywhere. The same sight. Trees snapped. Power lines down. People wandering the roads with lanterns, looking for kin. The driver keeps his hand on the horn. He is warning the ghost to get out of the road. Inside the cab, the radio is dead. The local stations have been knocked off the air. But if they could hear the weather report, if they could hear the meteorologists in Memphis or Jackson, their blood would run cold. The atmospheric conditions that created the Otoucalofa tornado have not dissipated. They have organized. The supercell is cycling. It is dropping a new wall cloud, and this new circulation is tracking parallel to the highway. It is a race. The truck is doing 30 miles per hour. The storm is doing 50. They are converging on a single point on the map. Grenada. As the truck crosses the county line, the rain stops. The wind dies down. The moon, a sliver of a crescent, peeks through a break in the clouds. It feels like a blessing. A woman in the back of the truck looks up. "Thank God," she whispers. "It's over." She sees the lights of Grenada in the distance. The hospital is on a hill. It is glowing, a beacon of modern medicine, sanitation, safety. They will be there in 10 minutes. Sanitation, safety. They will be there in 10 minutes. They will carry the wounded through those double doors. They will have clean sheets. They will have morphine. They will be safe. But nature is not done with Mississippi tonight. The double tap is a military term. It means shooting a target twice to ensure it is destroyed. The atmosphere is about to double tap Grenada Hospital. Let's pause the truck for a moment. Let's go inside the hospital. Let's pause the truck for a moment. Let's go inside the hospital. It is 5:30 p.m. The staff at Grenada Hospital is already overwhelmed. Victims from the first wave from the outlying areas are filling the hallways. Doctors are working by emergency lighting in some wings. The generator is humming. Nurses are cutting clothes off victims. They are stitching wounds. They are setting bones. The air smells of iodine and wet wool. Dr. Smith is scrubbing up for surgery. He has a patient with a crushed chest cavity. He looks out the window of the operating theater. He sees the headlights of the trucks coming down the highway. A convoy of misery. He sighs. He knows it's going to be a long night. He turns back to the nurse. More ether, get the lights focused. He doesn't see the sky behind the trucks. He doesn't see that the stars are disappearing one by one. He doesn't see the wall cloud lowering directly over the hospital parking lot. The Barber family is 5 minutes away. The storm is 5 minutes away. And the doors of the hospital are open. The sanctuary is about to become a siege. The survivors of the ghost train are running toward a burning building, and they are bringing the fire with them. 5:35 p.m. Grenada, Mississippi. There is a specific smell inside a 1940s hospital. It is sharper than today. It is the smell of ether, of harsh carbolic soap, of starched linen boiling in the laundry basement. It is the smell of order. Outside the brick walls of Grenada Hospital, the world has dissolved into chaos. But inside, there is light. There is heat. There is a hierarchy. The truck carrying the Barber family screeches to a halt at the emergency bay. "Stretcher! We need a stretcher!" The doors burst open. The contrast is violent. The hospital floors are polished white tile. The survivors are caked in black gumbo mud. As they are carried in, they leave trails of dark slime, like snails pulled from a garden. The nurses freeze for a split second. They have seen farming accidents. They have seen car crashes. But they have never seen this. The victims look like they have been dredged from a swamp. Their clothes are shredded. Their skin is embedded with straw, glass, and gravel. Mr. Barber stumbles in carrying his daughter. He is shivering violently. The adrenaline dump has ended, and the shock is setting in. She won't wake up, he stammers. A nurse rushes forward. She touches the girl's wrist. A pulse. Thready, but there. Trauma. 1. Move. They rush the girl down the corridor. The father tries to follow, but his legs give out. He slides down the wall, leaving a muddy smear on the pristine white paint. He sits there, head in his hands, listening to the squeak of the gurney wheels fading away. He closes his eyes. He thinks, we made it. The devil is behind us. He listens to the hospital sounds. The clinking of metal trays, the low murmur of doctors, the radiator hissing steam. It is the sound of safety. But then, the lights flicker. Dr. Smith stops in the middle of a suture. He looks up at the bulb swinging gently on its cord. Storm's getting closer, a nurse whispers. The doctor nods. Keep working. Get the flashlights ready just in case. But it's not just the lights. It's the instruments. On the metal tray next to the operating table, the scalpels and clamps begin to dance. It starts slow. A vibration. Then the windows rattle. Not the gentle rattle of a gusty wind. The violent, jarring rattle of a pressure wave hitting the glass. The air pressure in the operating room drops. The doctor's ears pop. He freezes. He knows this feeling. He grew up in the Delta. He looks at the nurse. Her eyes are wide. That's not thunder, he says. The Barber family, huddled in the waiting room, lifts their heads. They know that sound. Panic, absolute primal panic erupts in the hallway. It followed us. Someone screams, "It followed us here!" Imagine the psychological horror. You have just survived the end of the world. You have dragged yourself through hell to get to the sanctuary. And now, the monster is knocking on the sanctuary door. The lights die. Total darkness. The only light comes from the flashes of lightning outside, strobing through the windows. In the flashes, they see the trees in the parking lot bending almost double. They see the ambulance that just delivered them, rocking on its suspension. The doctor throws himself over the patient on the table. "Get down! Everyone down!" This is the double tap, a second tornado. A sister to the one that erased Otoucalofa is passing less than 200 yards from the hospital walls. The building groans. The brickwork is stressed. The roof trusses creak under the load. In the waiting room, Mr. Barber grabs the leg of a bench. He holds on. He is screaming, but he can't hear himself. He is praying for the walls to hold. Please, not here. Not after all this. The roar reaches a crescendo. The glass in the lobby implodes. And then, just as the roof feels like it's about to lift, the train passes. The roar fades to the east. The wind drops. A nurse clicks on a flashlight. The beam catches the dust swirling in the air. It catches the terrified faces of the survivors, pressed into the floor tiles. They are alive. The hospital held. Dr. Smith stands up. He adjusts his glasses. His hands are shaking, but his voice is steady. "Get the lanterns," he says. "We have work to do." While the hospital resets its rhythm, back in Otoucalofa, the world is still pitch black. It is 7 p.m. The storm system has finally moved into Alabama. The rain has stopped. The wind has died. What is left is the silence of the grave. If you were to stand in the center of the Barber farm at this moment, you would hear nothing. No cars, no electricity hum, no crickets. Just the drip, drip of water falling from broken timber. And then, the voices start. They rise from the debris field like ghosts. "Help me. Mama, over here." The search has begun. This is not a search by professionals. The National Guard hasn't arrived yet. The Red Cross is hours away. This is a search by neighbors, by the survivors who were lucky enough to be thrown clear. They have no flashlights. Flashlights were a luxury in 1942, and the batteries are dead or lost. They have kerosene lanterns. Imagine the visual. A pitch-black landscape, stretching for miles. And in that darkness, tiny, yellow pinpricks of light bobbing up and down. Hundreds of them. They look like fireflies hovering over a swamp. Mr. Carpenter is back at the schoolhouse ruins. He's been digging for 2 hours. His fingers are raw. His fingernails are torn off. He doesn't feel it. He's looking for the teacher. He finds a chalkboard. It is cracked down the middle, but still hanging on a fragment of a wall. The lesson from that afternoon is still written on it in chalk. March 16. History. He climbs over a pile of desks. The metal legs are twisted like pretzels. He stops. He smells something. In disaster zones, smell is often the primary sense. Sight is useless in the dark. Hearing is unreliable. But smell tells you the truth. He smells pine sap. He smells wet insulation. And he smells pipe tobacco. He knows that smell. The school principal smoked a cherry blend pipe tobacco. "Professor," Carpenter calls out. "It's coming from under the stage." Carpenter drops to his knees. He shines the lantern into a crawl space beneath the collapsed stage floor. 2 eyes reflect the light back at him. It is the principal. He is pinned. A support beam is across his chest. He cannot speak. He can only tap a piece of broken flooring against the beam. "I got you," Carpenter whispers. "I found you." He tries to lift the beam. It won't move. It weighs 500 pounds. Carpenter stands up. He lifts his lantern high. He screams into the darkness. "I need mean! Over here! I need mean!" You can see the other lights turning. The fireflies converging. 5 lanterns. Then 10. Then 20. They gather around the stage. They are farmers, store clerks, sharecroppers, black and white. In the Jim Crow South of 1942, the racial lines were rigid steel. But tonight, in the mud of Otoucalofa, the lines are erased. There is no segregation in the debris field. There is only the living and the dead. They line up along a beam. On 3, Carpenter says, 1. 2, heave. The beam lifts. They drag the principal out. He is gasping, sucking in the cold night air. They wrap him in a coat. They give him a drink of water from a canteen. He looks up at Carpenter. He grabs his hand. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't have the breath. He just squeezes. This scene, this moment of grace, is repeated 1,000 times across Yalobusha County that night. But not every search ends with a handshake. A mile away, a young mother is searching for her crib. She finds it in a tree, 30 feet off the ground. It is empty. She keeps walking. She walks until her feet are bleeding. She calls a name that will never be answered. She finds a clock lying in the mud. It is an old mantel clock. The glass is unbroken. She picks it up. The hands are stopped. 5032. The exact minute her life ended. She puts the clock down. She keeps walking. The night is long. It is the longest night of the century for Mississippi. But the physics of the planet are indifferent to tragedy. The Earth continues to rotate. Dawn comes. The sun rises at 6:15 a.m. In horror movies, darkness is the enemy. In a tornado disaster, the darkness is a mercy. The darkness hides the truth. The sun brings the shock of the stope. As the light bleeds over the horizon, the survivors at the hospital and the searchers in the fields finally see what happened. The track of the tornado is visible from the air. It is a scar, a brown, churned strip of earth 1/2 mile wide, cutting through the green forests of the delta. It looks like a giant finger was dragged across a wet painting. Inside that scar, nothing stands. Trees are not just broken, they are debarked, stripped white and twisted. Cars are not just rolled, they are compacted into cubes of steel. Chickens have been plucked clean of their feathers by the wind's speed alone. But the most haunting visual is the empty desk. We go back to the Otoucalofa schoolhouse. The sun illuminates the ruins. We see the scale of the loss. 16 dead in this one spot. That Monday morning, the school bell does not ring. Imagine the classroom. Imagine the rows of desks. Now, erase 1/3 of them. The silence of that Monday morning is heavier than the roar of the storm. The final death toll for the outbreak is staggering. 63 people confirmed dead in Mississippi alone. Hundreds injured. The Barber family, they lost their home. They lost their farm. But they kept their count. They all survived. The McClarty family was not so lucky. The Carpenter family was not so lucky. The Carpenter family was not so lucky. Bodies were found 3 miles away from their homes. Personal checks from Otoucalofa were found in Alabama, carried 80 miles by the updraft before fluttering down like leaves. A Bible belonging to a deacon was found in a tree, open to the book of Job. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. The searchers stand in the mud, leaning on their shovels, watching the sun come up. They are exhausted. They are covered in dried clay. They look like statues carved from the earth itself. They don't speak. There is nothing left to say. They just breathe. Why do we tell this story? Why do we dig up the ghosts of 1942? Because the Otoucalofa's tornado teaches us something about the arrogance of the present. We look back at them with pity. We think, poor souls. They didn't have radar. They didn't have iPhones. They didn't have iPhones. They didn't have sirens. And that is true. Today we have the National Weather Service. We have Doppler radar that can see a raindrop from 50 miles away. We have algorithms that can predict a supercell's rotation 15 minutes before it touches the ground. If the ghost train formed today, you would know. Your phone would scream. The TV would turn red. You would have 14 minutes of warning. 14 minutes to grab the kids. 14 minutes to get to the shelter. But here is the chilling truth. 14 minutes is not enough to stop a monster. You can have all the technology in the world. You can have the best radar, the loudest sirens, the fastest internet. But when an F4 tornado decides to walk through your neighborhood, the physics haven't changed since 1942. The wind speed is the same. The pressure drop is the same. The wood snaps just as easily. The fear is exactly the same. The wood snaps just as easily. The fear queer. The Barber family rebuilt. They built a new house, but they built a storm cellar first. A deep one. With a steel door. They never trusted the sky again. Every time the clouds turned green, every time the wind shifted from the east, Mr. Barber would go to the porch. He would listen. He wasn't listening for the wind. He was listening for the train. Nature is a sleeping giant. Nature is a sleeping giant. Most of the time, she lets us live on her back. She lets us build our cities, pave our roads, and fight our wars. But every now and then, she twitches. And when she does, we are reminded of how small we really are. This has been the Disaster Files. Look at the sky tonight. And if you hear a rumble in the distance, don't assume it's a train.